The United States must act on its commitment to be a refuge for people from all over the world, forced to flee their home countries in search of peace and safety. The right to seek asylum in this country is protected by domestic laws and international treaties, and it's emblematic of our values as a welcoming and just nation. But our asylum system is being systematically dismantled by the Trump administration, with policies such as the Migrant Protection Protocols, also known as Remain in Mexico. The American Civil Liberties Union and our allies are challenging these policies in courts, in border communities, and in the US Congress, but we cannot do this alone. We need your voice. We need you to call your congressional representative and tell them to end MPP and restore asylum now.
What is MPP, and how does it affect people seeking asylum?
MPP is one more affront to our values as a welcoming and just nation. In San Diego, in January of 2019, the Trump administration introduced an unlawful change to asylum policy that it calls the Migrant Protection Protocols, or MPP. It's more commonly known as the Remain in Mexico program. Under MPP, many people who approach and cross our southern border seeking asylum are forced to return to Mexico and stay there through the duration of their asylum proceedings. These proceedings can last for several months to more than a year. They're only allowed back into the United States for periodic immigration court hearings. MPP limits asylum seekers' ability to access US-based counsel that they desperately need to help them navigate a confusing and ever-changing asylum process. Despite its name, MPP does nothing to protect migrants. According to Human Rights First, there have been over 800 publicly reported cases of murder, rape, torture, kidnappings, and other violent assaults of people subjected to this policy. Since MPP was launched in San Diego 1 year ago, the US government has forced more than 60,000 asylum seekers to return to and remain in Mexico. Of that number, more than 27,500 people were returned in the Tijuana, Mexicali region.
What options do people have if they're afraid of returning to Mexico?
People in MPP who are afraid of returning to Mexico must express this fear to an immigration officer to be considered for removal from the program. Then, our government must coordinate what's called a non-refoulement or fear of returning to Mexico interview. These interviews determine whether these individuals will be forced to remain in MPP in a country where they fear persecution or torture. And despite the high stakes of these interviews, until recently, our government systematically denied people access to their lawyers to prepare for and during these interviews.
What is the ACLU doing to fight MPP?
This past November, the ACLU Foundation of San Diego and Imperial Counties, in collaboration with partner organizations such as Jewish Family Service of San Diego, filed a class action lawsuit to stop the US government from systematically denying people access to their lawyers in MPP non-refoulement interviews. The judge hearing our case granted our motion for a preliminary injunction, which is like a restraining order, requiring our government to provide people detained in CBP facilities, including Border Patrol facilities, access to their lawyers in person to prepare for the non-refoulement interviews and to participate during the interviews. This means that for the time being, all people in MPP along the California-Mexico border who have expressed a fear of returning to Mexico will get to consult with their lawyers prior to and during these interviews. Although the case is ongoing, the named plaintiffs in our lawsuit were allowed to consult with their lawyers as a result of the judge's order. And after living for months in Mexico, where they endured robbery at gunpoint, beatings, hunger, lack of desperately needed medical care, and homelessness, our clients passed their non-refoulement interview with the help of their lawyers. And they now live safely in California with loved ones as they await the remainder of their asylum proceedings. This does not mean that MPP is now okay. Our colleagues at the ACLU National are fighting in the courts to declare that the Migrant Protection Protocols are illegal and to end this cruel and unjust program. The ACLU will continue fighting for and defending the rights of all people, especially those who are most vulnerable and whose lives are in danger. We urge you to join us in demanding that the government end MPP and stop putting people's lives in danger.
What can we do to help end MPP?
We urge you to call your congressional representatives and tell them to restore asylum now and to end MPP.